I gave my son $500 a week. He said I interfered with his decisions. The decision I made was it was 8 o'clock on a Friday morning when I opened my banking app and stared at the screen. $500. Ready to transfer. The same amount I'd sent every Friday for the past 87 weeks. My finger hovered over the send button like it had 86 times before. But this time, I couldn't do it. My hand was shaking. Not from the cold, my kitchen was warm, coffee steaming next to my phone, but from something else. Something that had been building for 2 years and finally reached a breaking point. I could still see Tyler standing in my doorway last week. Could still hear his voice, sharp and angry and so sure of himself. I don't need your house anymore, Mom. I don't need you controlling my life. He'd thrown my spare key on the table between us, just tossed it like it was nothing. Like the home I'd raised him in meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. I stared at that transfer screen. Tyler Porter, $500. The money that was supposed to help him through college. The money that was supposed to keep him fed and safe and focused on his studies while he grieved his father. The money that had become a weapon he used against me every time I dared to suggest he was making poor choices. I closed the app. The money stayed in my account. And I sat there in my quiet kitchen, wondering if I had just made the biggest mistake of my life or the first right decision I'd made in 2 years. Let me back up. My name is Diane Porter. I'm 54 years old. I've been a registered nurse at Hartford Hospital for 28 years. I work the day shift in the ICU, which means I see people at their worst, fighting for their lives, hanging on by threads, families gathered around bedsides praying for miracles. 4 years ago, I became one of those families. My husband Paul collapsed in our driveway while taking out the trash. Massive heart attack. He was 52. The paramedics did everything they could, but he was gone before they got him to the hospital. The same hospital where I'd worked for 24 years. The same ICU where I'd saved countless lives. But I couldn't save him. Tyler was 19 when his father died, a sophomore at the University of Connecticut, studying engineering, or he was supposed to be studying engineering. Paul's death hit him hard, hit both of us hard. I watched my son crumble. Watched him stop going to classes. Stop answering my calls. I was terrified I was going to lose him to not to death, but to grief so heavy he couldn't climb out of it. So I made him an offer. Move off campus, I said. Get an apartment in Hartford, somewhere close to me. I'll help with the rent. You won't have to worry about money while you're getting through this. Tyler had been living in the dorms, sharing a room with someone he barely knew, eating dining hall food, living on a tight budget because that's what college students do. But I couldn't stand the thought of him struggling. Not while he was grieving. Not while I was grieving. So I found him a 1-bedroom apartment 15 minutes from my house. $1,200 a month. I paid the deposit. I paid the first month's rent. I set up the utilities in my name. And I started sending him $500 every Friday morning. For groceries, I told him. For gas. For anything you need. He was grateful at first. Hugged me. Told me he didn't know what he'd do without me. That was 2 years ago. Somewhere between then and now, gratitude turned into expectation. Expectation turned into entitlement. And entitlement turned into something I didn't recognize. My son, the boy I'd raised to say please and thank you, the boy who used to help me carry groceries without being asked, that boy disappeared, and in his place was someone who treated my help like it was his birthright. The money I sent every week wasn't enough anymore. There were always emergencies. Always unexpected expenses. Mom, my car broke down. I need $800 for repairs. I sent it. Mom, I had to buy textbooks. They were more expensive than I thought. Can you send $300? I sent it. Mom, my roommate moved out and stuck me with his half of the utilities. I'm short $600 this month. I sent it every time. Tyler changed his major 3 times in 2 years. Engineering to business. Business to communications. Communications to creative writing. Each change meant another year of college. Another year of me supporting him. I'm trying to find my passion. Mom, he'd say, when I asked about graduation, he never talked about getting a part-time job. Never mentioned internships or work-study programs. When I suggested he might want to work a few hours a week, just to have some spending money of his own, he looked at me like I'd suggested he jump off a bridge. I need to focus on my studies, Mom. Dad would want me to focus on school. He used that line a lot. Dad would want like he knew. Like Paul hadn't spent Tyler's entire childhood trying to teach him responsibility and independence. But I couldn't argue with a dead man. So I kept sending money. The apartment I was paying for turned into a crash pad for Tyler's friends. I'd stop by sometimes, always calling first, because Tyler hated surprise visits, and find pizza boxes stacked on the counter, empty beer bottles on the coffee table, a brand new gaming system hooked up to a TV that definitely wasn't the one he'd had when he moved in. "Where'd you get the new TV?" I asked once. "I saved up," he said, not looking at me. Saved up? From what? He didn't have a job. Every dollar he had came from me. But I didn't push it. Didn't want to seem like I was nagging. Didn't want him to shut me out the way he'd shut out his friends from high school, his cousins, everyone who'd known him before his dad died. Last month, Tyler brought his girlfriend Amber to my house for dinner. I cooked pot roast, Tyler's favorite, the one Paul used to request every Sunday. Amber was 22, blonde, pretty. Spent the entire meal on her phone, taking photos of the food before she ate it. "This is so aesthetic," she said, holding up her phone to get the right angle on her plate. Tyler watched her adoringly, like she was doing something profound instead of photographing pot roast. After dinner, I made coffee. Amber excused herself to use the bathroom. Tyler leaned back in his chair, patted his stomach. "That was great, Mom. Thanks." "You're welcome, honey. It's good to see you." "Yeah." He was scrolling through his phone now too, not looking at me. "Hey, so Amber and I are thinking about taking a trip to Boston next weekend. There's this art exhibit she wants to see. Could you float me an extra $200? I'll pay you back." I set down my coffee cup carefully. "Tyler, you already get $500 a week from me. Plus I'm paying your rent and utilities. Where does that money go?" He looked up, irritated. "It goes to living, Mom, food, gas, stuff I need. $200 extra for an art exhibit seems like more than stuff you need. Are you serious right now?" His voice rose slightly. "I'm asking for help with one weekend. One. Dad never questioned me like this." There it was again. "Dad, your father would have told you to get a job if you wanted spending money for art exhibits," I said quietly. Tyler stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "You know what? Forget it. I'll figure it out myself. I always do." He left before dessert. Before Amber even came back from the bathroom, I heard his car peel out of my driveway. And I stood there in my kitchen, the kitchen where I'd raised him, where Paul and I had made every major decision about his life, and I wondered when I'd lost control of this. Last week was the breaking point. I drove to Tyler's apartment unannounced. He hadn't been answering my calls for 3 days, and I was worried. Tyler might be ungrateful, but he was still my son. Still the only family I had left. I used the spare key I'd kept, the one for emergencies. Let myself in. The apartment was a disaster. Dishes piled in the sink. Laundry everywhere. Empty takeout containers covering the coffee table. And in the middle of it all, Tyler, sitting on his couch playing video games on a brand new PlayStation. "Tyler." He jumped, spun around. "Mom, what the hell? You can't just walk in here. I've been calling you for 3 days. I was worried." "I'm fine. I've been busy. You need to stop treating me like a child." I looked around the apartment. Looked at the new gaming system. The new TV mounted on the wall. The designer sneakers by the door that I knew cost at least $200. Where did you get the money for all this? What? The PlayStation. The TV. Those shoes. Tyler, I give you money for rent and food, not for toys. His face darkened. It's my money, Mom. You gave it to me. I can spend it however I want. That money is supposed to help you through school, and it does. I pay my rent, don't I? I eat, don't I? What I do with the rest is my business. The rest, Tyler, you don't have a job. There is no rest. Every dollar you have comes from me working 60-hour weeks at the hospital. Then stop sending it. He stood up, throwing his game controller on the couch. If you're going to hold it over my head every time I buy something for myself, then just stop. I'm sick of you interfering in my life. Sick of you judging every decision I make. I'm 23 years old. I'm an adult. Then act like one. The words came out harder than I meant them to. But I was tired. So tired of bending over backward for someone who never even said thank you anymore. Tyler's jaw tightened. He walked to the kitchen, grabbed something off the counter, and came back. My spare key. The one I'd just used to let myself in. He threw it on the coffee table between us. Here, take it. I don't need your house. I don't need your rules. I don't need you controlling my life. I'm done. Tyler, get out. I picked up the key, held it in my palm. It was still warm from where it had been sitting in the kitchen. Okay, I said quietly. If that's what you want. I left, got in my car, drove home, put the key in my junk drawer, and tried not to think about what had just happened. That was 6 days ago. And now it was Friday morning, 8 a.m. Time for the weekly transfer. Except this time, I didn't send it. I closed my banking app, set down my phone, finished my coffee, and I waited to see how long it would take my son, the son who claimed he didn't need me to notice the money was gone. Before I tell you what happened next, if you've ever given everything to someone who took it for granted, if you've loved someone so much, you forgot to love yourself, please subscribe to this channel. These stories need to be heard. Because sometimes the hardest thing we do for the people we love is finally learning to say no. Now, let me show you exactly what saying yes had cost me. I didn't sleep well that Friday night. I kept checking my phone, expecting Tyler to call, to text, to notice that the money hadn't come through, but my phone stayed silent. All weekend, nothing. Monday morning, I went to work like always. 6 a.m. shift at Hartford Hospital ICU. I changed into my scrubs, tied my hair back, checked my patient assignments for the day. Janet Morales was already in the break room, making coffee. She'd worked the ICU with me for 15 years. Single mom who'd raised 2 kids on a nurse's salary after her husband left. Both her kids were grown, now one was a teacher, the other was in the military. Both independent, both thriving. Morning Dee, she said, pouring herself a cup. You look tired. Didn't sleep great. Tyler, I nodded. Janet was one of the few people at work who knew what was going on. Who'd watched me slowly disappear under the weight of supporting my adult son. I stopped the money, I said quietly. Friday, I didn't send the transfer. Janet set down her coffee cup. Looked at me like she was trying to figure out if I was serious. Really, how does it feel? Terrifying. I poured my own coffee, my hands not quite steady. What if he really doesn't come back? What if I lose him the way I lost Paul? Janet pulled out a chair, sat down. Dee honey, sit. I sat. You're not going to lose Tyler, she said firmly. You know why? Because Tyler needs you. He's been living off you for 2 years. He's not going to just disappear. He's going to realize the money stopped and he's going to come running. That's what I'm afraid of. That he only needs me for money. Then you'll know. You'll know what you're dealing with. And you can make decisions from there. She took a sip of her coffee. How much have you been sending him? Total, I'd been avoiding that math. Avoiding looking at the numbers all added up. Because I knew if I saw it in black and white, I'd have to face what I'd been doing. But Janet was waiting. And maybe I needed to say it out loud. $500 a week for 87 weeks, I said. That's $43,500. Janet's eyebrows went up. Plus rent. $1,200 a month for 24 months. That's $28,800. Jesus. Dee. Plus utilities, car insurance, phone bill, groceries. I've been paying all of that. Maybe another $800 or $900 a month. Call it $21,000 over 2 years. I did the addition in my head. Felt sick. That's over $93,000, I said quietly. In 2 years, just in regular expenses. Not counting the emergencies, Janet added. Right. Not counting those. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, looked at the transfer history. Every time Tyler had texted me with some crisis, car repairs, textbooks, medical bills, money for a trip, money for a laptop, money for interview clothes that I'd never seen him wear. I added those up too. Another 8,000, I said. Maybe more. I stopped keeping track after a while. Janet was quiet. When I finally looked up, she was staring at me with something like pity. Diane, that's over $100,000. I know. In 2 years. I know. You make $72,000 a year. I know. My voice came out sharper than I meant it to. I know. Okay. I know it's insane. I know I should have stopped years ago. I know I'm a terrible mother. You're not a terrible mother. You're a mother who loves her son so much she forgot to take care of herself. I felt tears starting, pushed them back. We were at work. I couldn't fall apart at work. He lost his father, I said. He was 19. He was just a kid. He's 23 now. He's not a kid anymore. And Janet leaned forward. You lost your husband too. You were grieving too. But you still went to work. Still paid your bills. Still functioned. Tyler's been using his grief as an excuse to avoid growing up. And you've been letting him. He said he needed to focus on school. Has he graduated? I didn't answer. Has he? Janet pressed. No, he keeps changing majors. He's still got at least another year, maybe 2, because he has no incentive to finish. Why would he? As long as he's in school, you keep paying. The moment he graduates, he has to get a real job and support himself. You're not helping him, you're crippling him. The word hit hard, crippling. Paul tried to tell me, I said after a moment. Before he died, he said I was making Tyler too comfortable. It was a Sunday morning, 3 months before Paul died. We were in the kitchen making breakfast. Paul was scrambling eggs, while I made toast. Tyler was still asleep upstairs. 20 years old and sleeping until noon on a weekend. We need to talk about Tyler, Paul said, keeping his voice low. What about him? He's not working this summer. Again, he needs a job. He needs to learn what it's like to earn money. He's taking summer classes to classes. That's 6 hours a week. He has plenty of time for a part-time job. I buttered the toast, not wanting to have this conversation. He needs to focus on school. His grades were rough last semester because he's not taking it seriously, because he knows we'll catch him if he falls. We're making it too easy. We're not preparing him for real life. He's still young, he's 20. When I was 20, I was working full-time and going to school at night. You were working and living on your own. Tyler lives in a dorm where his meals are cooked for him, his laundry is done for him, and we pay for everything. He doesn't even know how much things cost. I don't want him to struggle the way we did. A little struggle is good. It teaches you. Builds character. Paul turned off the stove, looked at me directly. I love our son. But we're doing him a disservice. We're protecting him from consequences. And one day, we're not going to be here to protect him. What happens then? Don't say that, I'm serious. We need to start letting him handle more on his own. We need to let him fail sometimes. That's how people learn. I'd brushed him off. Changed the subject. Made some excuse about Tyler still adjusting to college, still figuring things out. 3 months later, Paul was gone, and I'd spent 2 years proving him right. Your husband was smart, Janet said, pulling me back to the present. He was, and I ignored him. I thought I was being loving, supportive, but I was just scared. Scared of Tyler failing, scared of him struggling, scared of losing him. So instead you lost yourself. I looked at her. What? When's the last time you did something for yourself? Went on a date? Bought yourself something nice? Took a vacation? I couldn't remember. You've been working 60-hour weeks to support a grown man who doesn't even say thank you. You've put your retirement on hold. You probably haven't added to your savings in 2 years. You've sacrificed everything, and for what? So Tyler can buy PlayStations and take trips to Boston with his girlfriend. My phone buzzed. I looked down. Tyler. Finally. Mom, where's the money? Did you forget to send it? I need it for rent. Not how are you? Not, is everything okay? Just where's the money? Janet saw my face. That him? I nodded. What are you going to do? I stared at the text. Tyler had sent it at 8:15 this morning. Exactly when he expected the money to hit his account. He'd probably been waiting, watching, and the second it didn't show up, he'd texted me. Not because he was worried about me. Because he was worried about his rent. I set the phone down without responding. I'm not sending it, I said. Not this week. Not next week. Not ever. Not until he proves he can stand on his own. He's going to call. He's going to show up. He's going to make you feel guilty. I know. Can you hold firm? Could I? I'd spent 2 years giving Tyler everything he asked for. 2 years bending over backward to make sure he never had to struggle. 2 years putting his needs above my own. But I thought about those numbers. $101,000. More than I made in a year. Gone. Spent on a son who threw my house key at me and told me to stay out of his life. I can hold firm, I said. My phone buzzed again. Mom, did you see my text? I need the money today. Rent is due tomorrow. Janet raised her eyebrows. And it begins. I turned the phone face down on the table. Let it begin. I'm not answering good. And D, you need to talk to someone, a professional. You've been through trauma, losing Paul, enabling Tyler, all of it. You need help processing this. She was right. I knew she was right. That afternoon, during my lunch break, I called a therapist my insurance covered. Dr. Rebecca Shaw, left a voicemail asking for an appointment. She called back an hour later. Had an opening Friday morning. I took it. By the time my shift ended at 6 p.m., I had 17 missed calls from Tyler and 12 text messages. I didn't read them, didn't listen to the voicemails. Just drove home, made myself dinner, and sat in my quiet house trying not to second-guess myself. Around 8 p.m., my doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I opened the door. Tyler stood on my porch, keys in one hand, phone in the other. He looked angry, confused, like the world had suddenly stopped making sense. Mom, what's going on? Why aren't you answering me? Hello, Tyler. Did you forget to send the money? Because I really need it. Rent is due. I didn't forget. He blinked. Then where is it? I didn't send it. Silence. He stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. What do you mean you didn't send it? I mean exactly what I said. I didn't send it. And I'm not going to. Mom, this isn't funny. I'm not joking. Tyler, I've been sending you $500 a week for 2 years, plus paying your rent, utilities, car insurance, phone, groceries. I've given you over $100,000. And last week, you threw my house key at me and told me you didn't need me. So I'm taking you at your word. His face went red. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. And you were right. You're 23 years old. You're an adult. Adults support themselves. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm your son, which is exactly why I should have done this 2 years ago. Your father tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. I enabled you. I made it so easy for you to avoid responsibility that you never learned how to stand on your own. That ends now. So what am I supposed to do? I can't pay rent. I'll get evicted, then you'll figure it out. Get a job. Find a roommate. Do what every other 23-year-old does. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. I can't believe this. You're abandoning me. Just like Dad did. That was his weapon. His go-to move when he wanted to hurt me. But this time, it didn't work. Your father didn't abandon you. He died. There's a difference. And using his death to manipulate me stops now. Tyler opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You're really doing this? I really am. He turned and walked back to his car. Didn't slam the door. Didn't peel out of the driveway. Just left. And I stood in my doorway, watching him go, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life, or if I'd finally done something right. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of silence from Tyler. 2 weeks of me going to work, coming home, trying to convince myself I'd done the right thing. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life. I saw Dr. Shaw that first Friday. Her office was small and calm, with soft lighting and a bookshelf full of self-help titles. She was maybe 48, with kind eyes and a gentle voice that somehow made it easier to talk about things I'd been avoiding for 2 years. "Tell me about Tyler," she said during that first session. I told her everything. The money, the entitlement, the way he'd thrown my key at me, the way I couldn't stop checking my phone, terrified and hopeful at the same time. "You're grieving," Dr. Shah said when I finished. "Not just Paul. You're grieving the son you thought you had. The son you wanted Tyler to be. He used to be that person. Before Paul died, he was sweet, helpful, grateful. People show you who they really are when things get hard. Tyler showed you, and now you're dealing with the reality of who he is versus who you hoped he'd be. What if I'm making it worse? What if he really can't handle this? Then he'll learn." Diane, the greatest gift you can give another adult is the opportunity to solve their own problems, even if that means watching them struggle. I wanted to believe her, but every night, I lay in bed imagining worst-case scenarios. Tyler homeless. Tyler hungry. Tyler in danger because his mother had abandoned him. My phone stayed quiet, no calls, no texts, nothing, until Monday morning of the second week. I was at work, checking on a patient, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me step into the hallway and pick up. "Mrs. Porter, this is Professor Harrison from UConn. I teach Tyler's American literature class." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes. But I'm calling because Tyler hasn't been to class in 3 weeks. He missed 2 major assignments and an exam. He's failing my course, and from what I understand, he's failing most of his other courses as well." I leaned against the wall. 3 weeks. "Yes, ma'am. I've tried to reach him by email but he hasn't responded. I'm worried about him. He's on academic probation from last semester. If he fails this semester, he'll be suspended from the university." Academic probation. Tyler had never mentioned that. Never said a word. "I didn't know," I said quietly. "The university sent letters. They should have gone to his address on file." His address on file. The apartment I'd been paying for. The apartment where Tyler probably threw away any mail that looked official. "Thank you for calling, Professor. I'll try to reach him. Please do. If he wants to salvage this semester, he needs to contact me immediately." "But Mrs. Porter, between you and me, I think Tyler needs more help than just catching up on coursework. He seems lost." After we hung up, I stood in that hospital hallway for a long moment. 3 weeks. He'd been lying to me for 3 weeks. Or maybe longer. Maybe he'd been lying the whole time. I pulled up my messages, typed, "Professor Harrison called. We need to talk." I sent it. Waited. No response. That night, Tyler's landlord called me. Mr. Chen. I'd spoken to him exactly once, 2 years ago when I co-signed Tyler's lease. "Mrs. Porter, I'm calling about the rent. It's 2 weeks late now. If I don't receive payment by Friday, I'll have to begin eviction proceedings." Has Tyler not paid? Tyler hasn't responded to any of my calls or messages. I went by the apartment yesterday. His car was there but he didn't answer the door. "Mrs. Porter, you co-signed this lease. If Tyler doesn't pay, you're responsible." I closed my eyes. Of course I was. Another thing I'd signed without thinking it through. Another way I'd made it too easy for Tyler to avoid consequences. "I understand, Mr. Chen, but I won't be paying Tyler's rent anymore. If you need to evict him, I won't stand in your way." Silence on the other end. "Are you sure? It'll go on both your records, I'm sure." We hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd just let my son face eviction. Let him lose his apartment. Everything in me screamed to fix it, to send the money, to make it all okay. But I didn't. Instead, I made myself dinner, took a shower, tried to watch TV but couldn't focus. Went to bed early and stared at the ceiling until midnight. My phone rang at 10:15 p.m. on Thursday night. Tyler. I almost didn't answer, but something in me needed to know he was alive, needed to hear his voice. "Hello, Mom." His voice was rough, strained. "I need help. Are you safe?" I need help, please. Can I come over? Tyler, what's going on? Just can I come over? Please. He sounded wrong. Desperate in a way I'd never heard before. Yes. Come now. He hung up. 20 minutes later, headlights turned into my driveway. I went to the front door, opened it. Rain was coming down hard. Tyler's car sat in my driveway, engine still running, windshield wipers going. For a long moment, he just sat there. Then the driver's door opened. Tyler got out. He was soaking wet within seconds. No jacket. Just a t-shirt and jeans. He went to his trunk, pulled out 2 duffel bags, a backpack, started walking toward my porch. That's when I saw his face in the porch light. Exhausted, defeated. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Tyler, can I come in? Please. I stepped aside. He walked past me, dripping water on my hardwood floors, set his bags down in the entryway. Stood there like he didn't know what to do next. What happened? I got evicted. I have nowhere to go. What about your friends? They won't help me. His voice cracked. I asked everyone. They all said no. What about Amber? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Amber dumped me 2 weeks ago. When I told her I didn't have money to take her to that concert she wanted to go to. She said, he stopped. Swallowed hard. She said I wasn't the person she thought I was. I didn't say anything, just waited. I tried to get a job, he continued. I applied everywhere. Grocery stores, restaurants, retail. No one would hire me. They all asked about my work history, and I didn't have any. 23 years old, and I've never had a job. Not even in high school. Because I'd told him he didn't need to work. That he should focus on school. That I'd take care of him. The utilities got shut off 3 days ago. He said, no electricity, no water. I've been staying at the library during the day and sleeping in my car at night. But the car's almost out of gas and I don't have money to fill it. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. Mom, I'm sorry. For everything. For what I said. For how I treated you. You were right. About all of it. I was a spoiled, ungrateful brat, and I blamed you for trying to help me. I'm sorry. Every maternal instinct in my body screamed to fix this. To tell him it was okay. To let him move back in, and make it all better. But I thought about Dr. Shaw. About Janet. About Paul. About 2 years and $100,000 and a son who'd learned that consequences didn't apply to him. You can't stay here, I heard myself say. Tyler's face crumbled. What? I said you can't stay here, Mom, please. I have nowhere else to go. I'll sleep on the couch. I won't bother you. I just need a place until I figure things out. No, the word came out harder than I meant it. But it needed to be hard. Needed to be firm. Because if I let him in now, nothing would change. He'd sleep on my couch, eat my food, use my electricity, and we'd be right back where we started. Mom, please. His voice broke completely. I'm begging you. I made a mistake. I know I did. But I'm your son. You can't just leave me out in the rain. You're not out in the rain. You're in my house. But you can't stay. I walked to the closet, pulled out an old blanket and pillow, handed them to him. You can sleep in your car tonight. In my driveway. That way I know you're safe. Tomorrow morning, we're going to talk about what comes next. But Tyler, if you think you're moving back in and having me support you the way I did before, that's not happening. What am I supposed to do? The same thing every other adult does. Figure it out. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the mother who would have let him waltz back in and take advantage of her again had finally died. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. He grabbed a blanket and pillow, walked back out into the rain. I watched him get into his car, arrange the blanket over himself. The interior light went off. I stood at my door for a long time, watching his car, making sure he was really there, really safe. Then I went inside, locked the door, and cried harder than I'd cried since Paul died. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because loving someone sometimes means letting them hit rock bottom. Even when that someone is your child. even when everything in you screams to catch them before they fall. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, listening to the rain hit the roof, thinking about Tyler in his car in my driveway. Every hour, I got up and looked out the window, made sure his car was still there. Made sure the windows weren't fogged over in a way that meant he wasn't breathing. He was fine. Uncomfortable, probably. Cold, maybe, but fine. At 6 a.m., I got up, made coffee, watched the sunrise through my kitchen window. At 7, Tyler's car door opened. He got out, stretched, looked toward my house. I could see him from where I stood. Could see how stiff he was from sleeping cramped in a car. How tired. I waited. At 7:30 he knocked on my door. I opened it. He stood there with the blanket folded in his arms, the pillow on top. His hair was a mess. His eyes were bloodshot. "Morning," I said. "Morning." He held out the blanket and pillow. "Thank you for letting me stay in your driveway." I took them. "Come in." I made coffee. He followed me to the kitchen. Sat down at the table while I poured him a cup. Black, the way he'd always taken it. I set it in front of him and sat across from him with my own cup. We didn't speak for a long moment. "I meant what I said last night," Tyler finally said. "I'm sorry for all of it. I believe you." "Then can I stay? Please, Mom. I'll do better. I'll get a job. I'll finish school. I'll pay you back every dollar I owe you. Just please let me come home." I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug. "You can come home, but not the way it was before." He looked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean there are conditions. Non-negotiable conditions. If you break any of them, you're out. No second chances. Do you understand?" He nodded slowly. "Okay." I pulled out a piece of paper I'd written on during one of my sleepless hours last night. "Read from it. First, you pay rent. $400 a month. That's less than half what I was paying for your apartment. It covers utilities, food, use of the house. It's cheap, but it's not free." Tyler opened his mouth like he wanted to protest, closed it. "Okay. Second, you get a job, full-time. I don't care where. Retail, food service, warehouse work, any honest job. You start applying today. You don't stop until someone hires you. And once you're hired, you keep that job. No quitting because it's hard or because you don't like your boss." "Mom, I've been trying. Try harder. You're going to apply to 20 places today. 30 tomorrow if you don't hear back. However many it takes." He swallowed hard, nodded. "Third, you finish college or you officially drop out. No more of this limbo where you're enrolled but not going to class. You're on academic probation. That means you're one semester away from being kicked out anyway. So either you go back, catch up on everything you missed, and actually graduate. Or you admit you're not cut out for college right now and you drop out and focus on working. Your choice. But you have to choose. I want to finish, then finish." "But Tyler, that means actually going to class. Actually doing the work. Not just saying you're a student so you can avoid real life." His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. "Fourth, you pay your own car insurance, your own phone bill, your own gas, your own everything. The $400 you pay me covers housing and food. Everything else is on you. How am I supposed to afford all that? By working. Like every other adult. But if I'm working full-time, when am I supposed to go to class? Night classes. Online classes. Part-time enrollment. People do it all the time. You figure it out." He looked down at his coffee. Said nothing. "Fifth, you live here for 6 months, maximum. That gives you time to save money. Get on your feet, find your own place. But this is temporary. This is not me letting you move back in permanently and supporting you for the rest of your life. 6 months," he repeated quietly. "Sixth, no disrespect, no manipulation, no using your father's death as a weapon. You don't get to make me feel guilty for setting boundaries. The second you start that behavior, you're out." I set down the paper, looked at him. "Those are the terms. You can accept them and move back in today. Or you can refuse and figure something else out. Your choice." Tyler stared at his coffee for a long time. I could see him thinking, calculating, trying to find a loophole. What if I can't find a job? He finally asked. Then you keep looking. You have 1 week. If you're not employed in 1 week, you can't stay here. That's not fair. Life's not fair. You have 1 week. He ran his hand through his hair, looked around my kitchen like he was seeing it for the first time, or maybe for the last time. Do I have to sign something? Yes. I pulled out another piece of paper. The same terms, typed up. 2 signature lines at the bottom. We both signed so we're both clear on what we agreed to. I slid the paper across the table, set a pen next to it. Tyler picked up the pen, stared at the paper. If I sign this, I can move in today. If you sign that, you can move your things into the spare bedroom. Not your old room. The spare bedroom. Your old room is my office now. Something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe? Or just surprised that things really had changed. He signed, I signed under him. Okay, I said, go get your things. The first week was hard. Tyler applied to 43 jobs. I know because I made him show me the applications every night at dinner. Fast food restaurants, grocery stores, Target, Walmart, gas stations, coffee shops. He got rejection after rejection. No experience, not what we're looking for, or just silence. On day 6, Target called. They needed someone for overnight stock. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. $16 an hour. Tyler took it. His first shift was the next night. He left at 9:30 p.m., came home at 6:30 a.m., looking exhausted. I was already up, getting ready for my own shift. How was it? I asked. Hard. My back hurts. My feet hurt. Everything hurts. That's what work feels like. He went to bed. Slept until 4 p.m. Got up, ate something, went back to work. That was his life for the next 3 months. Working overnight, sleeping during the day. No social life, no fun. Just work and sleep, and paying me $400 on the first of each month. He hated it, I could tell. Could see the resentment in his eyes when he handed me the rent check. Could see him biting his tongue when I reminded him to pay his car insurance or phone bill. But he did it. He also went back to school, enrolled part-time in online classes. 2 courses. Took them seriously for the first time in years because he knew if he failed, I'd make him drop out completely. I didn't make it easy on him. Didn't do his laundry. Didn't cook his meals. Didn't wake him up for work. He was an adult. He could handle adult responsibilities. Some days, I wondered if I was being too hard. If I should help a little more. Make it a little easier. But then I'd remember that PlayStation, that new TV, the way he'd thrown my key at me, and I'd stay firm. 3 months in, something shifted. Tyler came home from work one morning and sat down at the kitchen table where I was having coffee. He had his paycheck in his hand. 2 weeks of work, 80 hours at $16 an hour. I got paid yesterday, he said. That's good. After taxes, it's $240 a week, $480 for 2 weeks. I waited. Rent is $400. That leaves me $80. Car insurance is $180 a month. Phone is $80. Gas is about $120. He was doing the math out loud. That's $385. Plus the $400 for rent. I need $785 a month just for basics. That's not counting food or anything else. Welcome to adulthood. How did you do it? He looked up at me. How did you give me $500 every week? That's $2,000 a month, plus my rent, plus everything else. Mom, you were giving me almost $4,000 a month. How? I worked 60-hour weeks. I stopped contributing to my retirement. I stopped doing anything for myself. I sacrificed everything. Why? Because I loved you. Because I was scared. Because your father died and I thought if I could just keep you safe and comfortable, I wouldn't lose you too. His eyes got shiny. You almost lost me anyway. Not because you didn't give enough, but because you gave too much. I turned into someone I hate. Someone who felt entitled to your money. Who treated you like garbage. Who used Dad's death to manipulate you. I know. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm really, really sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't know how hard it was, how much you sacrificed. I just thought I don't know what I thought. That money just appeared. That you had plenty. That I deserved it somehow. You deserved support, love, guidance. You didn't deserve to be enabled. I'm starting to see that. We sat there in silence for a moment. I got promoted, Tyler said finally. They're moving me to day shift, making me a team lead, $18 an hour. That's great, honey. It's not enough to move out yet, but it's progress. He folded the paycheck, put it in his pocket. I'm going to pay you back. Every dollar. It might take years, but I'm going to do it. I don't need you to pay me back. I need to, for me. So I know I'm not that person anymore. He stood up. Thank you, Mom, for saying no, for making me do this. I hated you for it at first, but I think you saved my life. He went upstairs to sleep, and I sat there at my kitchen table, crying into my coffee. Not sad tears this time. Relief. 6 months after Tyler signed that paper at my kitchen table, I helped him move into his own apartment. It was a small 1-bedroom in a complex 20 minutes from my house. Nothing fancy. The carpet was old. The kitchen appliances looked like they were from the 90s, but it was clean, affordable. He'd found a roommate, a guy named Marcus, who also worked at Target. They'd split the rent. $750 total, so $375 each. Tyler could afford that now with his team lead salary. Could afford his bills. Could even put a little away in savings. I carried a box of dishes up the stairs, plates and cups I'd had in my garage. Things from when Tyler was little that I'd been saving without knowing why. You didn't have to help me move, Tyler said, setting down a box in the living room. I wanted to. He looked around the empty apartment. It's not much. It's yours. That's what matters. Marcus came in carrying a small TV. Where do you want this, man? Living room, I guess. Tyler glanced at me. Marcus, this is my mom. Mom, Marcus, nice to meet you, Mrs. Porter. Tyler talks about you all the time. All good things, I hope. The best. He says you saved his life. Tyler's face went red. Marcus, come on, what? You did say that. Like 50 times. Marcus grinned, set down the TV, went back out for another load. Tyler and I stood there in his new living room, surrounded by boxers, sunlight coming through the bare windows. I found something, he said, pulled something out of his pocket. My spare house key. The one he'd thrown at me 8 months ago. I've been carrying this around. Wasn't sure what to do with it. He held it out to me. I don't deserve this. But if you want me to have it, Tiff, you trust me with it, Tyle. Take care of it this time. I won't throw it back at you. Won't take it for granted. It'll just be there. In case you need me. Or in case I need you. Not because I'm using you. But because we're family. I looked at that key. Thought about all the times I'd rescued him. All the times I'd made things too easy. All the times I'd confused enabling with love. Keep it, I said. But you're right. It's not permission to take advantage. It's just family. Real family. The kind that shows up for each other without keeping score. He closed his hand around the key, nodded. We finished unloading his car in silence. When everything was inside, I gave him a hug. I'm proud of you, I said. Thanks, Mom, for everything, especially for the hard stuff. I drove home to my quiet house, made myself dinner, sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and watched the sunset. For the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. 2 months after Tyler moved out, he showed up at my house on a Sunday afternoon carrying grocery bags. What's this? I asked, opening the door. I'm making you dinner. That okay? I stepped aside. Let him in. Watched him unpack ingredients in my kitchen. Chicken, vegetables, pasta, fresh herbs. Since when do you cook? Since I realized I couldn't afford takeout every night. Marcus taught me some basics. I'm not great, but I'm getting better. He started chopping an onion. How was your week? Good. Busy at work. I picked up an extra shift on Saturday. You're still working 60-hour weeks. No, actually, I cut back to 4. I'm trying to have more balance. That's good, Mom. You deserve that. We fell into easy conversation while he cooked. He told me about work he was training to be an assistant manager now. Told me about school he'd switched his major to business management, something practical that he actually cared about. Told me he'd started seeing someone, a girl named Jessica, who worked at the Starbucks in his complex. It's nothing serious yet, he said, but she's nice. She has her own job, her own car, her own life. She doesn't need me to take care of her. We just enjoy spending time together. That sounds healthy. It is. It's the first relationship I've had that doesn't feel like someone's using someone else. He served dinner. We sat at my table, the same table where we'd signed that agreement, where we'd had that conversation about paychecks, where I'd set boundaries and he'd learned to respect them. This is really good, I said, trying his chicken piccata. Thanks. I'm thinking about taking some cooking classes. There's a community college course that starts next month. You're good at this. After dinner, he insisted on doing the dishes. I sat at the table with my wine, watching him work. Mom, yeah. I've been going to therapy. Did I tell you that? No. That's wonderful, honey. My insurance from Target covers it. I started going about a month ago to talk about Dad. About how I used his death as an excuse for everything. About how I treated you. He scrubbed a plate, rinsed it, set it in the drainer. My therapist asked me to write you a letter. I've been working on it. It's not done yet. But when it is, can I share it with you? Of course. It's mostly just me saying I'm sorry in 50 different ways, but I need to say it. Need you to know I understand what I did, what I put you through. I already know you're sorry. I know. But I need to say it anyway. He finished the dishes, dried his hands, gave me a hug before he left, and I stood in my clean kitchen, smelling the lingering scent of lemon and herbs, thinking about how far we'd both come. That night, I pulled out my journal, the one Dr. Shaw had suggested I keep to process everything. I'd filled nearly 100 pages in the past 8 months. Pages about grief and guilt and fear and growth. I turned to a fresh page. Started writing. December 15th, 2024. Tyler moved out 6 months after he moved back in. He's been gone 2 months now. And for the first time in years, I can say this with absolute certainty. My son is okay. More than okay. He's thriving. He's working. Supporting himself. Going to school. Building healthy relationships. Growing up. All the things I tried to give him by handing him money, security, stability, happiness he's finding on his own now. By working for them. By earning them. I spent 2 years trying to protect him from struggle. 2 years trying to make his life easy. I thought that was love. Thought that's what mothers were supposed to do. But it wasn't love. It was fear. Fear of losing him the way I lost Paul. Fear of watching him fail. Fear of being alone. Real love, I'm learning, is harder than that. Real love means letting people struggle, letting them fail, letting them figure out who they are when nobody's there to catch them. Real love means saying no. Paul tried to tell me. Let him fail sometimes, he said. That's how people learn. I wish he was here to see Tyler now. To see the man our son is becoming. I think he'd be proud. I know I am, but more than that, time proud of myself. For finally setting boundaries. For choosing myself. For learning that you can love someone completely and still refuse to let them destroy you. Tyler told me last week that I saved his life. But the truth is, we saved each other. He needed to learn he could survive without me. And I needed to learn I could survive without him needing me. I closed the journal. Set it aside. Looked around my house. It was quiet. Tyler's old room was my office now. Desk, bookshelves, sewing machine in the corner for the alterations I'd started doing again as a hobby. The spare room where he'd lived for 6 months was back to being a guest room. My house felt like mine again. Not empty. Just mine. I was dating someone. Nothing serious. A man named Richard who I'd met at a hospital fundraiser. He was kind, funny, respected my boundaries. We went to dinner once a week. Took walks, talked about books and travel and our grown children. It felt good to be seen as Diane again. Not just Tyler's mom. Not just Paul's widow. Just Diane. My retirement account was recovering. I was contributing again, planning again, thinking about the future in a way I hadn't since Paul died. I had coffee with Janet every week, saw Dr. Shaw every other week, was building a life that wasn't centered entirely around taking care of someone else. And I was happy. Really, genuinely happy. 3 months after Tyler moved out, he came over for Sunday dinner. Brought Jessica with him. She was sweet, smart, a nursing student working her way through school. After dinner, Tyler pulled an envelope from his jacket. That letter I mentioned, it's done. I'd like you to read it. But not now, later, when you're alone. I took the envelope, held it. Thank you for writing it. Thank you for everything. For saying no when I needed you to. For loving me enough to let me fall. He hugged me tight. I love you, Mom. I love you too. After they left, I opened the envelope. Read the letter. It was 5 pages, single-spaced, every word raw and honest, and full of the kind of self-awareness that only comes from really looking at yourself and not liking what you see. He talked about entitlement, about manipulation, about using his father's death as a weapon, about taking me for granted. And then, at the end, you gave me the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. Not money, not support, not a place to live. You gave me the chance to become someone I could be proud of. You gave me consequences, boundaries, the opportunity to fail and learn and grow. You loved me enough to watch me struggle instead of rescuing me. That's the kind of love Dad tried to teach me about. The kind I didn't understand until now. Thank you, Mom, for everything, but especially for saying no. It saved my life. Love, Tyler. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, set it on my nightstand next to Paul's picture, and I knew wherever Paul was, he was proud of Tyler, of me, of both of us. We'd finally learned what he'd tried to teach us all along. That the truest love isn't the kind that shields people from pain. It's the kind that teaches them they're strong enough to survive it.